I used to be the woman who judged everyone. You know the type. I sat on my front porch with my iced tea, watching the neighborhood, noting whose grass was too long, whose kids were too loud, and whose marriage looked like it was falling apart. I felt superior. I felt safe. I had the perfect house. I had Richard, my husband of 15 years, who was a successful cardiologist. We were the pillars of the community. We were the couple everyone wanted to be. If you had told me then that I would end up being the scandal of the entire street, I would have laughed in your face. But pride comes before the fall, and my fall was long, hard, and absolutely humiliating. It started the summer I turned 40. 40 is a strange age for a woman. You look in the mirror and you still see yourself, but the world starts to look past you. You become invisible. Sighs. Men stop turning their heads. Bartenders stop serving you first. You become a ma'am. And Richard didn't help. He loved me, I know he did, but he loved me like you love a comfortable old recluse chair. He didn't look at me with hunger, he looked at me with familiarity. Our life was a schedule. Tuesday was date night at the same Italian restaurant, Friday was movie night, Sunday was golf for him and gardening for me. It was a good life. It was a privileged life, but it was completely devoid of passion. Whispers. I was starving for attention, and I didn't even know it. Then, the for sale sign went up on the house next door. The Millers, a lovely elderly couple, moved to Florida. 2 weeks later, a moving truck pulled up. Curious. That was when I saw Jax. Jax was 24. He was a personal trainer. He had messy blonde hair, tattoos running down his arms, and a smile that looked like trouble. He didn't move in with a family. He moved in with 2 roommates. They were loud. They played music with the windows down. They had mismatched furniture. Richard hated them immediately. There goes the neighborhood, he grumbled, watching them carry a neon beer sign into the house. But I didn't hate them. I was fascinated. It started as simple voyeurism. I would be washing dishes at the kitchen sink, and I would watch Jax in his backyard. He would be working out, doing pull-ups on the oak tree, his shirt off, sweat glistening on his back. I found myself washing the same plate for 10 minutes just to keep watching. It was innocent, I told myself. It was just appreciation, like looking at a statue. But then came the interaction. It was a Tuesday. Richard was late at the hospital. I was struggling to carry a heavy bag of potting soil from my trunk to the garden. Need a hand with that? I turned around, and there he was, Jax. Up close, he was even more overwhelming. He smelled like cedar and soap. He had eyes that were an impossible shade of blue. I think I got it, I stammered, feeling my face flush. Nonsense, he said. He grabbed the 50-pound bag like it was a pillow. He walked it over to my garden bed and set it down gently. He wiped his hands on his jeans and smiled at me. I'm Jax, by the way. I think we got off on the wrong foot with your husband. He glared at me when I brought my drum set in. I laughed. It was a girly, breathless laugh that I hadn't heard in years. I'm Elena, and don't mind Richard. He just likes quiet. And what do you like, Elena? He asked. The question was simple, but the way he said it, it felt intimate. Surprised. He looked me right in the eyes. He didn't look past me. He didn't see a 40-year-old housewife. He saw a woman. I like gardening, I said, pointing to the flowers. Cool, he said. Well, if you ever need heavy lifting, just yell over the fence. He walked away, and I stood there for 5 minutes, just staring at the empty space where he had been. My heart was hammering against my ribs. I felt a rush of dopamine that was so strong it made me dizzy. Exhales sharply. That night, when Richard came home, I tried to initiate sex. I wanted to channel that energy, but Richard was tired. Long day, Elle, he said, kissing my forehead. Maybe this weekend. He turned off the light, and I lay there in the dark, feeling the rejection burn in my chest. Sighs. And in the darkness, my mind drifted to the boy next door. The obsession grew quickly. I started timing my schedule around his. I knew he left for the gym at 8 a.m., so I made sure I was getting the mail at 8 a.m. I knew he sat on his porch at 6 p.m., so I made sure I was watering the hydrangeas at 6 p.m. We started talking. Curious, little conversations over the fence. He told me about his dreams of opening his own gym. I told him about my painting hobby that I had given up years ago. He listened to me with an intensity that Richard never had. You should paint again, Jax told me one evening. You have artist hands. He touched my hand, just a brush of his fingers against mine on the white picket fence. It was like an electric shock. Gasps. The affair didn't start with sex. It started with a text. He had given me his number in case of emergencies regarding the house. One night, Richard was asleep next to me, snoring softly. My phone buzzed on the nightstand. It was Jack's. Whispers. "I can see your light is on. Can't sleep?" I knew I shouldn't answer. Sighs. I knew this was the line. Crossing it meant danger. I picked up the phone. "No," I typed. "Thinking." "About what?" "Life," I wrote. "I'm thinking about you," he replied. That text changed everything. It validated the fantasy. It made it real. We texted until 3 a.m. It was exhilarating, excited. It was like being a teenager again, hiding under the covers, smiling at a screen, feeling that butterflies in the stomach sensation. 2 days later, Richard went to a medical conference in Boston for the weekend. I was alone in the big, empty house. I was sitting on the patio with a glass of wine. I saw Jax in his yard. He saw me. He walked over to the fence. "Husband away?" he asked. "Yes," I said. "You look lonely," he said. "I am," I admitted. "Want some company?" I should have said no. I should have gone inside and locked the door. I should have called my sister. I should have done anything else. Whispers. "The gate is open," I said. He walked into my yard. He walked up the steps to my patio. He stood in front of me, blocking out the moonlight. Whispers. "You're beautiful, Elena," he whispered. "I've been watching you too." Gasps. He kissed me. It wasn't gentle. It was hungry. It was chaotic. It was everything my marriage wasn't. We didn't even make it inside. We stumbled against the patio door. The glass was cool against my back, but his hands were hot. We spent the entire weekend together. He stayed in my house, in Richard's house, in our bed. It was a fever dream. We drank wine. We listened to music. We talked for hours. Jax made me feel young. He made me feel reckless. He made me forget about the mortgage, the PTA meetings, the cholesterol levels, the retirement funds. For 48 hours, I wasn't Mrs. Elena, the doctor's wife. I was just Elena, sighs. But reality has a nasty habit of crashing the party. On Sunday afternoon, I was scrambling to clean the house before Richard got home. I was washing sheets, hiding wine glasses, opening windows to air out the scent of Jax's cologne. Jax was sitting at the kitchen island, eating an apple, watching me panic, rushed. "Relax," he said. "You're gonna give yourself a heart attack." "You don't understand," I snapped, shouting. "If he finds out, my life is over. So leave him," Jax said casually. "Be with me." I stopped scrubbing the counter. I looked at him. He was 24. He had 3 roommates and a drum set. I was 40. I had a 401k and a reputation. "I can't just leave him, Jax," I said. Whispers. This isn't real life. This is a fantasy." I saw the hurt flash in his eyes. He stood up. "So that's all I am? A midlife crisis toy?" "No," I said, reaching for him. "It's not like that." "It feels like that," he said. He walked out the back door. Richard came home 2 hours later. He brought me a souvenir t-shirt from Boston. He kissed me on the cheek. "Missed you, hun," he said. "House looks great. Smells clean." I almost fainted. For the next month, I lived in hell. Jax wouldn't talk to me. He ignored my texts. When I saw him in the yard, he looked right through me. And the worst part? He started bringing girls home, girls his own age, girls in crop tops and denim shorts. I would watch from my window as he laughed with them, drinking beer on his porch, doing the things he used to do with me. I was consumed by jealousy. It was a sick, twisting feeling in my gut. I was jealous of a 24-year-old boy who I had no right to claim. I started acting crazy. I started waiting by the fence, hoping to catch him. I started sending him desperate texts. "Please talk to me. I miss you." One night, Richard caught me staring out the window at 1 a.m. "Elena?" he asked, standing in the doorway. "What are you doing?" "Nothing," I said, jumping. Gasps. "Just heard a noise." "Is it those damn neighbors again?" Richard asked, walking over to the window. He looked out. Jax was on his porch with a girl. They were kissing. "Look at them," Richard sneered. Sarcastic. "Trash, absolute trash. I should call the HOA." I stood next to my husband, watching my lover kiss another woman, and I felt like I was dying. "Don't call the HOA," I whispered. "Why not?" Richard asked. "Just leave them alone," I said, turning away so he wouldn't see the tears in my eyes. But the secret didn't stay secret. Pause. Because secrets in suburbia never do. Jax wasn't discreet. He was hurt, and he was immature. He started dropping hints. He would wave at Richard too aggressively. He would make comments when we were both outside. The explosion happened at the neighborhood block party. Everyone was there, burgers on the grill, kids running around with sparklers. Richard was holding court with the other dads, talking about the stock market. I was trying to avoid Jax, who was there with his roommates. Jax had been drinking. He walked over to where Richard and I were standing. "Hey, Doc," Jax said, slurring slightly. "Great party." "Hello," Richard said stiffly. "Elena looks great today," Jax said, looking right at me. "She always looks great, especially in the mornings." My blood ran cold. Gasps. "Excuse me?" Richard said. "I said she looks great," Jax smiled, a cruel, reckless smile. "You're a lucky guy, Richard. You get to wake up to that every day." "Well, most days." Richard froze. The other neighbors went quiet. Pause. The air was thick with tension. Whispers. "What are you implying, son?" Richard asked, his voice low. "I'm not implying anything," Jax said. "I'm just saying Elena has a lot of energy for a woman her age." He winked at me. Richard looked at Jax. Then he looked at me. He saw the terror on my face. He saw the guilt. He was a smart man. He was a doctor. He put the pieces together in a split second. The gardening, the clean sheets, the late-night window staring. Richard didn't punch him. He didn't scream. He just dropped his paper plate on the grass. "We're leaving," Richard said to me. "Rick, wait," I started. "Now," he said. We walked back to our house in silence. The longest walk of my life. 30 pairs of eyes watching us. Jax laughing in the background. When we got inside, Richard locked the door. He turned to me. "Did you sleep with him?" I couldn't lie. "Not to him. Not anymore." "Yes." Richard nodded. A small, jerky nod. He went to the kitchen, poured a glass of water, and drank it. Then he looked at me with eyes that were completely dead. "I want you out of this house by tomorrow morning." "Richard, please," I begged. "It was a mistake. It meant nothing." "It meant you let that child into our bed," Richard said. "It meant you humiliated me. It meant you risked 15 years for a weekend of fun." He walked upstairs to the guest bedroom and locked the door. I spent the night packing my bags. I looked out the window one last time. Jax's house was dark. The party was over. I lost everything. I lost the house. I lost the husband. I lost the respect of my community. And Jax? 2 months later, he moved out. He got bored of the suburbs. He moved on to the next adventure. I was just a blip on his radar, a story he tells his friends over beers about the hot older lady next door. But for me, it was my entire life. I live in a condo now. I'm divorced. I'm dating, but it's hard. Men my age want younger women. Younger men just want a conquest. I realized too late that getting older isn't a curse. The curse is trying to pretend you're something you're not. I traded dignity for desire, and I ended up with neither.